Welcome to the Pro Bricky exclusive YouTube channel with Reverend Dr. Jason W. Morrison, theologist. I'm just down here at Gosford. Beautiful place, look at that. Beautiful place. So peaceful. Nice clouds today. Sometimes a relationship requires tolerance. Tolerance is the psychological conscious ability to flex your mental muscle in a way in which you're giving credence to things that ain't what you're normally used to putting up with. Could be an instantaneous moment, it could be a moment over a duration of time. Tolerance gets tested in many different ways, but when you're in a relationship and you've gotten to know someone and you work out what their value is to you, if they do have a value or not. I think some people are just in relationships for supply, psychological, emotional, physical supply, in some cases spiritual, but you've got to work out what the legitimacy of the person you're in the relationship with is. Now that can be measured by one easy attribute, and that's resolve. 100% resolve. If you're in a relationship and the person that you're with has been presented with something they have the choice to fix or not, it's going to come down to a matter of whether they want to fix it or not. And if they don't want to fix it, guess what? You've got to make a choice. Either you're going to be able to tolerate it and keep investing in the relationship, making the decision of whether it's a sunken hole or not, a sunken investment. Sunken investment means going to be a loss, or whether it's worth continuing to put into. You'll find a lot of these modern day women today, and I'm speaking about women because that's who I have relationships with. I'm sorry, I don't have relationships with men. The problem that I'm finding is they're surrogating their children, their male sons. They're surrogating these boys as partners without the sex. So then they're having to find themselves to go out and have sex. Some of these people will hit the pubs or get a bloke for the one night, and they'll get on the drugs and on the booze or whatever and bang each other and then go home and think that's constructive, but it's not. As a matter of fact, it's destructive. Stay away from those types. And they're of no consequence, because then they can go back to their hidey hole, whatever that is, and back to their children and continue their emotional incestual relationships with their children. That's enmeshment with a child as a parent on a parent-to-parent level, not on a parent-to-child level. That's what it is. And it's confronting for these people that are found in it. A lot of them can hide it because it's behind closed doors, but if you're aware of what it is and how dangerous it is, it really freaks the people out when you point it out to them and they go, oh, you're right. A lot of these women won't believe you until the child, you hang around long enough and the child or the young adult starts manifesting dark triad characteristics. So where does tolerance come into this? Tolerance comes into it in my case where I've had a couple of these, as I've said in other videos, but tolerance comes in where there's going to be a possible resolve. If you've deliberately not aggravated these children, these adult children, and they're just reacting out of their enmeshment for trying to protect the emotional supply of their mother, then if she doesn't buy into it fully, which a lot of them will, they make out they don't, but they do, you can go into what I call is unattached tolerance. You immediately break any attachment that you think you're going to have with that person, because now you're playing on an unfair relationship level. You're playing in what I would call a triangulated, destructive situation. And these aren't proper terms. This is how I look at it. I've seen these women, because of their hunger for the man, due to starving for man, they haven't had a decent man for a while, they'll go all in and they'll push the child to the side, and just tolerate their misbehaviour or their immaturity or infantile behaviour, while they're getting their supply of the man. But as time wears on, as things go on and they catch up with themselves, or their supply banks are filled up with masculinity and all this, the child will start to make back some headway into the mother's preferences. And then what she'll do is she'll start to work out what the true value is that she has for the man, what the value of the relationship will be with the man if that's what she decides to do, and how that will rank parallel with her relationship with the children. Now that's all right for her to do, but what you'll find is these children, they're not going to give an absolute crap about any man. They don't care about some strange bloke coming in and having a relationship with their mum. Well, how do you know this? Because I was one of these. I was one of these children, and my mother put a stop to our behaviour really quick, really quick. But some of these mothers won't. They're emotionally invested into their children as well. They make them golden childs, and another one might be a scapegoat, and then she'll shift between the two. One will be a golden child 1 minute. You'll see these adult males contending with each other. They'll be in opposition to each other, behind each other's back, and then to each other's face they'll be allies. There's tremendous collusion going on between the mother and one of the children and several others, all on different levels, and it's so dysfunctional. It's so dysfunctional and dark. If they, and this is the danger, if they become aware, or if you bring to their awareness that this is way out of order, then you're going to bring opposition on yourself from these people. Now, the mother's going to find herself in a really tough spot, because she's got a invested interest in the man. The man's not engaging any of this rubbish from her adult children, and she wants to get on with both of them. But the children now have decided that it's better for them for the man to be ostracized. We don't want him around, which makes it hard for the mother, because the mother wants her supply of masculinity, which the boys cannot give them. This is why some people will go in, and I know this sounds horrible, to a physical form of incest, because it becomes all too much, these young males playing up, and the next thing there's a touch here and there, and these people are in physical incest. But most people won't go down that road. The majority won't. There are people out there, believe me, that are sleeping with their adult males physically and sexually. And I hope the law finds them, because they're out there. But there's these ones that go all the way up to that, so they have to go out and find a male to meet their needs. But they don't want a male to be in their family life. They don't want a male trying to meet their emotional needs that they're getting met with their adult sons. This is called covert emotional incest, and nobody wins. The adult sons don't win, the parent don't win, and if you're not aware of it as the the third piece in the triangle, you'll probably come out the most damaged of all, because these people will always default and retreat back to their family dynamic, because there's a tremendous sense of satisfaction that they get out of the covert emotional incest. They get security, they get the bond, they get lustful feelings as well. There's a lot of ego stroking and pedestalizing. You'll find these golden children, no matter how big or buff they look, are extraordinarily infantile mentally. They've got dark triad traits. If you trigger one of these idiots, imbeciles, that's what I'm going to call them, I got no sympathy for them. The destruction that they can cause is incredible. It's no point you engaging it. There's just no point in you engaging it, because it's formed inside the family. The parent has allowed it to form. It's a core formation in the psyche of these people. And what'll happen is, it's very dark, it's very demonic. You'll see demons manifesting and all sorts of dark behavior. And if you don't engage it, it actually infuriates these people more, because you're sending a message to them that this is not normal, this is completely out of order. I definitely won't be tolerating it, no matter what you try and throw at me. It's all just going to fall off like rain off the duck's back. And you see these poor old mothers, silly old mothers that have formed it all, trying to juggle their romantic life with their messed up parenting life. They've messed it up, they've wrecked it up, because they've been in a relationship with a man that couldn't meet their needs, so they've surrogated their children. And as these children have grown, they're getting a sense of lust from their mother. Oh yeah, there's some shit going on under the surface that she's not aware of. So when a man comes along, you watch all hell break loose, and the mother won't be able to fix it, because it's a core formation inside now the personality and character of the child, who's now an adult. This can happen with fathers and daughters, but I've seen it with sons and mothers. Now, am I trying to be critical of these? No, it's just hard when you're trying to have a relationship with someone and you got these gremlins and minions trying to ruin everything behind the scenes. They'll have family functions, you won't be invited, they'll take their girlfriends, but mummy's boyfriend can't come because he knows how infantile we are and how dependent on our mum we are. We can't have our girlfriends finding out that. And it's all disguised as family support, but it's not. There's more going on than that, way more, in the sense of codependency and I mean dark, deep, manipulative, controlling codependency. You'll see these people have tantrums, they'll be demanding, they'll try and cause separation between you and the mother, and it's relentless. I used to watch my last partner and I used to think, and I'd ask her, how are you coping with all of this? Because it wasn't any effect to me. watched it from the outside, from an outside perspective, and I used to wonder how on earth is she coping with all this? Well, they don't. In the end, something's going to break, something's going to give, and you've got to realise it's got nothing to do with you. If you have not gone down the road of trying to cause division between the mother and the parent, which I don't think anybody should do, I think that's destructive, then don't get involved in it all. Just let them wreck themselves and make fools of themselves and imbeciles and idiots of themselves. They think they're fantastic. They've been pedestalized and grandized, and they've got no comprehension of how they're behaving and what they're destroying. And the poor old woman, she ends up with no one. Don't blame yourself for the dysfunctions going on in these families. Just keep an eye on yourself. Make sure you're checking yourself, running right, being right, providing what you're supposed to provide in a relationship if you have one. And if it all gets too much, just walk away. But the problem was there before you come along. And if your life really is peaceful and healthy in every aspect, just get away from them. Because a lot of this stuff doesn't manifest until you're well into the relationship. And you've got to have, so there's a lot of women running around that thinking their titties and their pussy has power to hold people. Well, it'll hold men that are insecure, but it won't hold men that are aware of themselves once this trouble starts. And this brings me back to tolerance. It's a matter of how much you can tolerate. Circumstances will eventually corner the person into a situation where they probably wish they had resolved it at the start. And I haven't seen it or been in a situation or circumstances yet where the relationships lasted because the bond between the children and the parents has gone way beyond maternal. It's actually some kind of weird survival interdependence. It's quite pathetic, actually. And you just got to move on, man. Keep maturing, keep growing. Know that it's not you. This is a domestically formed parental to child enmeshment that should never have been there. Just should never have been there, and it is. So you go on, you keep yourself fit in here, fit in your body, and learn from these things. You don't have to judge these people, just get away from them and let them go ruin themselves without you. She'll find somebody else. She'll go down the pub and get banged by Joe Blow and Joe Spong and continue on they continue on their path of destruction till they end up on their own, and then they have to reflect and consider what they've done to themselves. But you go on, man, and walk away. Parent and children covert enmeshment, you've got to recognise it, because she'll be left on the sideline. Get out of it before that happens. You'll see her try and beat around the bush, but it won't fix anything, because they don't know how to set up boundaries, because the boundaries were never there. This is Reverend Dr. Jason W. Morrison, theologist, on the ProBrick exclusive YouTube channel. Bye for now.